I once thought my life was utterly fulfilled. A charming house nestled in the peaceful suburbs, my son excelling at college, a steadfast husband who showered me with every comfort imaginable. Hold on just a moment before we continue. If this story is touching something in you, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. It genuinely makes a difference and helps me bring you more stories like this one. I also want to hear from you. Write in the comments, where are you right now? Are you tucked away in a peaceful village where stars fill the sky, or surrounded by the hum and glow of a city that never sleeps? What more could a woman possibly desire? But that illusion of fulfillment is merely a fragile shield we build to hide from the voids we're too afraid to admit exist. Until I gazed into those captivating blue eyes mirrored in the bubbling waves of our backyard hot tub, I hadn't realized what was truly absent. Ethan, my son Alex's lifelong best friend, had been a frequent guest at our home for years. But on that languid summer afternoon, everything transformed in an instant. Before I delve into the events that unfolded from there, take a moment. Tap that like button and subscribe. It supports the channel more than you might imagine, bringing you more stories just like this. And if tales of hidden desires and moral crossroads draw you in, I want you right here for every twist. Drop a comment below too. Where are you watching from? A quaint rural town where twilight stretches endlessly, or a vibrant city pulsing with eternal neon? He paused at the hot tub's rim, rivulets of water tracing sensual paths down his sculpted physique. The soft amber light of the waning sun enveloped him in an ethereal radiance I'd overlooked until now. With a fluid, confident motion, he raked his fingers through his slick, dark hair. I lingered in my gaze a second too long. When a sly, acknowledging smile played on his lips, I knew he'd sensed my stare. I should have averted my eyes immediately, should have retreated into the house and feigned ignorance. But I didn't. That fleeting moment embedded itself deep within me, like a smoldering ember poised to erupt into flames. From that day on, I became hyper, aware of his every gesture, the deep resonant timbre of his laughter that seemed to vibrate through the air, the subtle way his glances rested on me just a heartbeat longer than necessary. He began appearing more often, collaborating with Alex in the driveway on restoring that vintage pickup truck, lounging by the hot tub during sweltering afternoons, navigating our kitchen with an ease that sent my heartbeat into overdrive. I scolded myself relentlessly, insisting it was all in my imagination, that a mature woman like me had no right entertaining such notions about a young man scarcely older than her own son. Yet those thoughts invaded relentlessly. They haunted me amid the most ordinary routines, folding piles of fresh laundry, dicing vegetables for family casseroles, or staring at the ceiling in the dead of night beside my husband Michael, who slept soundly, oblivious to the tempest raging inside my chest. Then arrived the inaugural contact. Unintentional at first glance, brief as a sigh, yet potent enough to send tremors coursing through my veins. It was one of those afternoons when Alex had dashed off to a campus seminar. Ethan wandered into the kitchen for something cold to drink. I stood at the counter, meticulously washing crisp lettuce leaves under the faucet, when he reached up to the cabinet directly above me for a tall glass. His fingertips brushed against mine softly, almost imperceptibly, but the atmosphere crackled with sudden intensity. "My bad," he murmured, his voice a low rumble that resonated far beyond the words. Yet the smoldering intensity in his blue eyes betrayed no real remorse. I forced a swallow past the lump in my throat. No worries at all. But even hours after he'd gone, long into the evening, the spectral warmth of his touch lingered on my skin, an insistent phantom that refused to dissipate. That very night, I found myself seated alone by the hot tub, entranced by the silvery moonlight shimmering across its steaming surface. My mind waged a fierce war between gnawing guilt and insatiable yearning. I was a married woman with sacred vows. I bore responsibilities as a mother. I had a son who viewed me as his unshakable foundation. These feelings had no place in my world. And still, my pulse surged with a ferocity around Ethan that I hadn't known in decades, fiercer, even, than the fading embers of passion I'd once shared with Michael. The ensuing days dissolved into a tapestry woven from clandestine glances and palpable, unspoken electricity. Every exchange brimmed with subtext too dangerous to articulate. Every innocent word carried layers of implication neither of us dared to unveil. I caught myself primping more deliberately, selecting outfits that hugged my figure just so, applying a touch of rouge and mascara precisely when I anticipated his arrival. The woman who stared back from the bathroom mirror was a revelation, awakened from years of dormancy, vibrant, perilous, profoundly alive. One twilight evening, as I methodically wiped down the kitchen counters after a hearty family dinner, Ethan materialized in the doorway like a shadow come to life. "You drive yourself relentlessly?" he observed in a hushed tone, as if confiding a secret. I managed a light, breathy laugh to mask my unease. It's just how I operate keeps the world spinning. He advanced a step, then another, closing the distance until his fresh, invigorating scent, citrus mingled with clean musk, clouded my senses and scattered my composure. Perhaps it's high time someone turned the tables and pampered you for once. My breath snagged sharply in my chest. I should have brushed it off with humor, erected barriers of decorum, recited the litany of reasons this path led to ruin. But paralysis gripped me. I neither spoke nor retreated. The silence expanded between us, thick and expectant, pregnant with uncharted possibilities, until Alex burst through the door, shattering the fragile bubble. Ethan pivoted toward him with a seamless, disarming smile, as though the air hadn't just thickened with forbidden heat. Ready to dive back into the truck, he inquired, his tone flawlessly nonchalant. Alex nodded eagerly, rummaging for a quick bite. Yeah, one sec. Yet in that interruption, an irreversible shift had occurred, acknowledged silently by us both. The following days stretched into a symphony of strained restraint. I orchestrated my movements to evade solitude with him, excusing myself from rooms upon his entry, immersing in chores that enforced physical separation. But evasion only amplified the allure, rendering the prohibited all the more intoxicating, the desires darker and more unyielding. Michael sensed the undercurrent eventually. You've seemed distant these past weeks, he remarked gently over dinner one evening, his fork pausing mid-air. Is everything all right? I summoned a convincing smile from reserves I barely possessed. Just exhausted, honestly. Work's been a grind. He accepted it at face value, nodding with quiet empathy. After 22 years of marriage, laced with shared triumphs and trials, why would he suspect otherwise? That unshakable trust settled over me like leaden chains, constricting my breath. And then came the precipice, the juncture that could have rewritten our fates irrevocably. Alex had stepped out to pick up auto parts from the store. Michael, as was his routine, remained ensconced at the office until the wee hours. Ethan lingered behind, unhurried. I had settled on the wooden deck with a chilled glass of chamomile tea clutched in my hand, mesmerized by the sunset symphony of crimson, gold, and lavender bleeding across the sky, when he eased into the Adirondack chair beside mine. You've been different lately, he noted, his piercing blue eyes dissecting me with unnerving precision. You holding up okay? I wavered, words catching, just a whirlwind of thoughts crowding my mind. He inclined toward me, his body's radiant warmth infiltrating the scant space between us. If there's any way I can help. The sentence dangled unfinished, but its intent resonated crystal clear. In that suspended heartbeat, a fracture spiderwebbed through my resolve. This transcended mere physical pull. It surpassed base craving. It was an aching thirst to be truly seen, ardently pursued to reclaim vitality after eons of mechanical existence. I locked eyes with him, this vibrant young man exuding unbridled assurance, and beheld my own forgotten reflection, a woman of allure, intrigue, worthy of fervent chase. Ethan's hand extended deliberately now, enveloping mine in a firm, interlaced grip that ignited lightning bolts up my arm and across my frame. I've been watching you, he confessed in a velvet whisper. Ever since my first visit here. There's this inexplicable magnetism about you, Laura. It commands every glance. My heart thundered deafeningly, betraying me utterly. Ethan, this is impossible. We can't. I understand completely, he interjected smoothly. The complications are endless. The objections pile high. But these emotions, they're undeniable. And I sense you feel them too. He spoke truth, damn him, raw, irrefutable truth. Rationality bellowed for flight, for severance before ignition. Yet my fingers betrayed me, clinging steadfast. My gaze remained ensnared by his chiseled features. Laura, he breathed, his face drawing nearer until his exhalations feathered my skin, raw hunger blazing in those azure depths. I could taste the inevitability of the kiss hovering mere inches away. Then, piercing the fog like a thunderclap, Alex's voice resounded, not in the flesh, not striding up the path, but etched indelibly in my core memories. My son is a wide-eyed child, pleading, one more story, Mom, please. The awkward teen pouring out agonies of his initial romance's collapse. Mere weeks prior, beaming with admiration, you're my rock, Mom. I aspire to be even half as strong and wise as you someday. That recollection doused me like Arctic waters. I wrenched my hand free and surged to my feet, the chair scraping harshly. This cannot, will not, happen. Ethan's expression crumpled, a flash of bewilderment and dejection crossing his handsome face. Laura, please, reconsider. I backed away, fortifying the gulf. I lost all sense. Allowed shadows of emotion to encroach where they don't belong, but it terminates here, this instant. He rose languidly, processing the rejection. I never intended. Intentions alter nothing. I countered, voice quivering. Reality endures. I'm wed, you're Alex's dearest confidant. This shatters every boundary, and I came perilously close to. The admission strangled in my throat, the gravity suffocating. He stood motionless for an eternity, absorbing the finality. Then his demeanor softened, vulnerability surfacing beneath the bravado. You're absolutely right. I apologize, I let myself get carried away in the moment. We create distance. I stipulated. It might be best if you limit your visits for the foreseeable future. He inclined his head solemnly. Alex is bound to notice. I'll manage Alex. The atmosphere curdled into awkward desolation, the prior electricity supplanted by harsh pragmatism. I should head out, he murmured at length. He passed me en route to the side gate, halting at its threshold without a backward glance. For whatever it's worth, he added softly, my admiration was genuine, not merely surface. You're an extraordinary woman, Laura. Don't let this taint your self-view. With that, he vanished into the gathering dusk. I remained rooted on the deck long after his retreating footsteps echoed into silence, my body quaking from the seismic near catastrophe. Tears welled unbidden, carving hot trails down my cheeks, not from sorrow over the halt, but profound shame for permitting the precipice so near, dread for the devastation I'd narrowly averted. When Michael arrived home later that evening, I averted my gaze, unable to bear the purity in his. He instantly noted my puffy, reddened eyes, concern etching his features. Laura, what's happened? Talk to me. The compulsion to unburden everything surged, a tidal confession poised on my lips, but it lodged immovably. Nothing dire, just an overwhelming day. Emotions got the best of me, I'm all right now. He enveloped me in his familiar embrace, and for the first time in months, perhaps years, that solidity anchored me profoundly secure, unwavering, profound. The weeks that followed ranked among the most grueling of my existence. Ethan honored my boundary, his presence evaporating from our home. When Alex inquired casually, I fabricated tales of his burgeoning job commitment swallowing his time. The true battle raged inward, an endless loop dissecting the sequence, its implications my vulnerability. The revelation, when I summoned the courage to confront it squarely, cut deep yet liberated. Our marriage had ossified into comfortable stagnation. Never abusive, eternally reliable, but monotonously predictable. Michael and I had morphed into efficient cohabitants orchestrating domesticity, forsaking the intimate partnership we'd vowed. Ethan's attentive gaze, his manner of beholding and addressing me, had illuminated a chasm I'd willfully ignored, a flawed remedy for an authentic affliction. Precisely 3 weeks after that charge-deck confrontation, I resolved to act. I drew Michael to our scarred oak breakfast table, witness to innumerable meals, debates, and whispered intimacies. We need to have a serious conversation, I announced, voice measured, his brow creased with apprehension. That preface never heralds good news. It's not catastrophe, I assured, but it's crucial for us. Inhaling deeply, I launched not into raw confession, that would merely offload my remorse onto him purposelessly. Inflicting wounds sends closure. No physical transgression had transpired, the threshold remained intact. Instead, I illuminated our relational core, the insidious drift, my sensation of invisibility within our union, the erosion of the profound bond we'd cultivated. Michael absorbed it all without interruption, his countenance evolving through confusion, sting, worry, culminating in epiphany. I've sensed it too. He conceded upon my pause. I simply lacked the tools or courage to bridge it. Assumed this was marriage's inexorable evolution after decades. It doesn't have to be, I replied tenderly. His hand spanned the table, claiming mine, not sparking fireworks, but forging something enduring, foundational. Where do we begin? He queried earnestly. Be attuning once more, prioritizing us, rekindling the essence that ignited this journey. The subsequent months eschewed cinematic metamorphosis. Authentic evolution is gritty, iterative. We navigated arduous dialogues that laid bare insecurities, endured frustrations when inertia clawed back, persevered through lapses. Yet renewal flourished incrementally. We instituted bi-weekly date nights, unpretentious affairs, intimate dinners dissecting dreams beyond carpools and mortgages, twilight ambles reclaiming clasped hands like newlyweds. A cherished weekly rite emerged, voicing one specific gratitude for the other. Initially stilted, verging on contrived, it progressively resurrected the mosaic of minutiae that had captivated us originally. I embarked on solo therapy concurrently, not conjoint sessions, though those ensued later. Those private hours dissected my psyche, affirming that Ethan's allure symbolized deeper voids, unaddressed yearnings, terrors of obsolescence, frantic bids for relevance and desire. Legitimate sentiments, demanding healthier outlets lest they raise foundations. That crisp autumn, Alex triumphed with his college diploma. Amid the jubilant graduation gathering, kinfolk and comrades abounding, he tugged me aside into a quiet alcove. Mom, there's something I have to share. My stomach twisted into knots. Of course, honey, what's on your mind? Ethan opened up to me about his feelings for you, how he overstepped that line, and how you handled it impeccably. Pallor drained my face, vertigo threatened. Alex, I never meant. He silenced me with a gentle palm. Hear me out. He confessed out of guilt, emphasizing your poise far exceeded his merit. Insisted nothing improper occurred, it was solely his misjudgment. I stood petrified adrift. I was furious initially. Alex pressed on, mostly at him, but puzzled why you kept it from me. I couldn't bear tarnishing your friendship. Didn't want you seeing me as. I comprehend fully now. He drew me into a fierce hug, and truthfully, I'm prouder than ever, for drawing the line with unyielding strength when surrender tempted sweetly. Dad mentioned you've revitalized things between you stronger than in years. Tears brimmed, spilling over. We have, truly. Alex withdrew slightly, his eyes mirroring the innocent devotion of his youth. You're irreplaceable as my guiding star, Mom. Elevated even higher today. That subsequent winter, Michael and I absconded to a serene lakeside retreat, just the pair of us, our inaugural solo sojourn in over a decade. We secured a quaint cabin perched above lapping waves, days dissolved in indolent bliss. Porch perusals of novels, meandering beach treks collecting shells, collaborative feasts evoking early courtship, unhurried discourses weaving past reminiscences with nascent aspirations. One dusky eve, as the sun plunged into the lake amid a blaze of scarlet and amber, he pivoted to me. I owe you profound thanks. For what, exactly? For shattering the complacency. For battling to reclaim us when surrender loomed? I leaned into his shoulder, savoring the solidity. I nearly faltered. Came within a whisper of the gravest error imaginable. Silence enveloped us briefly. I'd intuited a catalyst lurked unspoken, some jolt that propelled your candor. My frame stiffened instinctively. Details aren't necessary, he murmured reassuringly. Whatever shadow nearly eclipsed us, you chose fidelity. As I lifted my gaze to this man who'd navigated my life's odyssey, gratitude cascaded through me. I love you, I avowed. I utter it infrequently, demonstrate it sporadically, but it's absolute. He pressed a lingering kiss to my brow. And I love you eternally, committed to evidencing it through every remaining dawn. 1 year onward, I reclined by the hot tub on a sultry midday, the precise locale where errant gazes had first ensnared improperly. Yet the perspective had metamorphosed entirely, not through alterations in landscape but my inner evolution. That hot tub evoked no specters of remorse, instead waves of appreciation for the pivotal alert it heralded. Occasionally, teetering on forfeiture's brink illuminates true worth. Precipices accentuate the sanctity of stable terrain. Ethan had since ventured cross-country for a demanding career leap. Alex sustained a cordial, if attenuated, camaraderie, geography and maturity tempering intensity. Harboring no bitterness, he'd navigated youthful impulses amid nebulous currents, and peculiarly, his transient fixation compelled my long-overdue reckoning. Michael ambled out, bearing frosted glasses of lemonade, the ice tinkling softly. Perfection of a day, he remarked, easing into the adjacent languor. Couldn't agree more. His fingers sought mine in a ritualistic weave, unadorned, devoid of drama, yet freighted with epochal resonance. That grasp had steadied through parenthood's tempests, vocational pivots, ailments, and the unheralded mundanity stitching existence. It pledged endurance into uncharted tomorrows. I once presumed existence consummate, uncovered the lacuna. Yet the deficit craved neither adrenaline nor youthful dalliance. It yearned for mindful presence, rekindled intimacy, the valor to unveil frailties to my utmost confident. Certain portals, once breached, seal irreparably. Immensely grateful I forewent that threshold, discovered transcendence beyond illicit euphoria, a reclaimed devotion, perpetually latent, patiently anticipating my reclamation. Should you ever perch at temptation's razor edge, may this narrative impart cautionary wisdom. Not every lapse reverses. Not every portal reseals seamlessly. The paramount courage. Recoil, embrace the arduous trail. Safeguard the irreplaceable. Ephemeral thrills pale eternally against lifetimes of fidelity. Certain demarcations exist not as shackles, but sentinels for sanctity. Thank you for immersing in this journey. If it stirred your soul, disseminate it to a kindred spirit in need. Subscribe, activate notifications, our selections sculpt destinies, and sagacity's summons transcends chronology.